Today you're going to learn how to make a 10-knot macrame plant hanger. So what that basically means is using 10 knots and some macrame, you're going to make this rad looking thing. You can get most of your supplies at the local hardware store, and it's actually very easy to make. So first, let's run over our supplies. You're definitely going to need some macrame, or you can use rope, basically something really sturdy. You're also going to need a nice sharp pair of scissors. You'll need a lighter, a metal ring. This one's about 1.5 inches in diameter, and a yardstick, and a clamp. I got a nice sturdy one from the hardware store down the street. And that's it. Let's get started. So grab your macrame and your ruler, and you're going to unwind a nice hefty amount of macrame. And using your ruler, you're going to measure out 3 feet. And try and keep it nice and tight and just approximate 3 feet. I'm going to hold on to the end, fold it in half, and stretch out the length of your macrame. And grab your scissors, and you're just going to snip. So you're going to do this 4 more times. And what I've made here is a 6-foot long strand of macrame. So now that you've got all 4 of your strands, you're going to match up the edges, at least one edge of each strand. And then using your metal ring, you're just going to thread those through, hold on to them, and guide that ring to the center of all 4 of your strands. The easiest way to do this is to just match up both edges of the strands, hold them, and then guide that ring to the very center. So you're just folding everything in half. So now you've got 8 strands in your hand and your ring in the other. You're going to wrap the strands around your hand, pull the ring around, and guide it through that loop. And then tighten. And while you're tightening this, you're going to want to tighten it towards the ring, because you want that knot as close as possible. So if you're confused, we're going to reverse and do that over again. So 8 strands in one hand, ring in the other. Loop it around your hand, grab the ring, pull it out around the back and through the loop you just made. It's really just a simple knot, but the fact that there's a ring on the end makes it look a little more confusing than it really is. And again, tighten it towards that ring. Just like that. And now, one at a time, yank all 8 of those strands of macrame. One at a time. And you're just kind of solidifying and tightening that knot really well. There's the last one. And that's it. Now it's time for the next step. So once you have your tidy knot of strands around your metal ring, you're going to need your clamp. And so you're going to take that clamp and just make it nice and sturdy and put it on the edge of a table. And then take that metal loop, that metal ring that we put the macrame on, and just loop it around one of the handles, just like that. And now I like to just kind of organize my strands of macrame and kind of spread out all 8 of them flat, so there's no kind of overlapping and I can really see what I'm doing. And for the next part, you're gonna work with pairs of strands, if that makes sense. So you're gonna work with like your first 2 strands, and you're gonna measure down about approximately a foot, 12 inches. So I'll take like that first strand right there, measure down the length I want, and I want 12 inches. Take its neighboring string, and you're gonna make a knot right on that little mark that you made. Mental mark, I guess. And then tighten it. And you kind of like adjust that knot higher or lower if you want to. So you can be at exactly where you want it, and it's pretty, and just tighten it. And then you're gonna do this all the way across. So take the neighboring strands, use your first knot to indicate where you want the next knot, and you're gonna go all the way across. So here's that second pair of strings, a foot down, and I'm gonna work my way across. Now, spread those out, and you're gonna do essentially the same exact thing, but down below the knots you just made. So I'm gonna tilt the camera down a little bit to make it a little bit easier for you to see what's going on here. There it is. So I'm following that same procedure. I'm gonna skip the first strand, leaving it open, and then I'm gonna take the neighboring strands after that one. I'm gonna measure about 6 inches. I think I did about 4 inches here. And I'm gonna make a knot. Just like that. And then you're gonna do the same exact thing for the next pair of strings. So laying them out flat again, I'm gonna take that loose strand, I'm gonna pair it up with its partner, its neighbor. And then I'm gonna make a knot about the same length down. And tighten. And you're gonna do this one more time. So there you go, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 knots. Now you're gonna take those 2 loose strands that we have, and you're gonna make those into a knot. And again, this is about 4 inches down, 4 to 6 inches down. So you've made a kind of like ring of knots, and you can kind of see this kind of basket shape forming. And that's it. Now we can go to our last knot. So you're gonna take the loose ends of all these strands, and you're gonna make one big knot on the bottom. And this is the same type of knot we used when we made our knot around the metal loop. You're just gonna loop it around and then pull it tight, just like that. And make sure it's really tight, pull really hard, and you're gonna tighten each strand like you did at the beginning, one at a time. And there you can see that, you can already see that it's pretty much done. And that's where your plant's gonna sit when it's hanging. So this is the last step. You're just gonna try and seal the edges of each strand of your macrame. And this is where the fire comes in. Ooh. Well, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of touching the edges of each string. I'm trying to kind of seal off the edges so that they don't fray. My macrame that I'm using is actually very old, so it didn't work out very well, but if you had some newer, fresher strands of macrame, what it would do, it would kind of make a protective seal at the edge and keeping it from fraying. And here you go. There's your macrame plant hanger you just made. You take your plant and you'll just nestle it right into that little basket you made. And it looks great. Good job, and now you know how to make a 10-knot macrame plant hanger.